After 5 years of marriage, I finally gave birth to a daughter. The whole family was happy. The mother-in-law, who was biased against women, was even more proactive. She demanded to take care of my daughter for me. She smiled kindly. "Daughter-in-law, leave the baby to me. You can rest assured to develop your career." I was about to leave my daughter to her when suddenly I heard a voice that was not yet mature. "Mom, don't leave me to this old woman. She is planning to sell me." The voice was found. I was quiet. I looked around once the TV was not on, nor was there any device making noise. Which feeling was an illusion? "Zhao Shui, what do you think?" "Quickly leave the baby to me." Mother-in-law Lu Jinhua was still restless. "My daughter Cici is already 3 months old since she was born. Everyone in the family has loved her very much. I myself have always been by her side, never leaving her side. But the company is constantly improving, so I have to go back to work. I will not leave my daughter." Mother-in-law volunteered to take care of me as a career development specialist. She smiled gently in front of me. I thought maybe I had just heard wrong. But when I was about to put my daughter in her arms, that immature voice rang out again. "Mum, don't give me to her. She intends to sell me to the mountains to be a daughter-in-law since I was little." I was startled immediately, hugged my daughter tightly, and looked at my mother-in-law warily. The voice I heard just now was very clear, and it seemed to be the heart of my daughter in my arms. Although I wasn't sure, I couldn't lie. "Zhao Shui, what do you mean mother-in-law is clearly unhappy? I really want to help you take care of her. Are you still unhappy what this old woman pretended to be kind? She clearly sold my child and made room for her grandson outside." That immature voice made me cold. It was impossible for a woman who favored men and despised women like her to suddenly show her enthusiasm to help me take care of her. It turned out that she had her own plans. I tried to stay calm and said leisurely, "Mum, I've thought about it again. Cici is still young and can't live without you. I'll discuss the company's matters with the leader." The mother-in-law's face stiffened for a moment, but then she immediately smiled. "Look, how can I delay work? I'll help you with your worries, so you can go to work with peace of mind." "Mum, I thank you for your kindness, but I still want to stay with Cici for a while longer." After saying that, I ignored her ugly expression and hugged my daughter and went back into the room. Locking the door carefully, I immediately put her in the crib and asked gently, "Baby Cici, were you talking to me just now?" The baby was still babbling and waving her arms and legs. I waited for a while, and when I didn't hear that voice anymore, I realized that she had fallen asleep. Sitting on the old side, I tried to calm my mind and started thinking. That immature voice just said that the mother-in-law was going to sell her niece to make room for her nephew outside. The mother-in-law only had one child, my husband. If she had a nephew outside, would I have had an affair? My husband, Tran Chi-Vien, and I have known each other since college. At first, I didn't like him, and even frankly accepted him, but he still didn't give up pursuing me for 2 years. In the end, I became his sincere friend, which moved me, and I accepted to be his younger sister. A year after graduation, we ended our marriage. After getting married, I always wanted to have children, but Tran Chi-Vien said that we were both in the stage of career advancement. Having children would affect us, so our sex life was sparse, and he was careful when using birth control. But more than a year ago, one night, we both drank a lot of alcohol and forgot to use birth control. After that, because I was busy, I also forgot to take birth control pills and discovered that I was pregnant. I was extremely happy. At first, Tran Chi-Vien was like a reserve breath, but very quickly he became happy and even bought a lot of toys and clothes for the baby, saying that he really wanted the child to be the crystallization of our love. But now thinking back, even though Tran Chi-Vien always didn't want to have a child, was it because he already had a son outside wife C2's father is back? While I was lost in thought, the sound of the door opening and knocking rang out. "Wife, are you there?" Why was it locked like that? I walked over, opened the door, and answered with a smile. "I just locked it unconsciously. Why did you come home so early today? It's rare that I don't have to work overtime today. Of course I took the opportunity to come home early to visit my wife and beloved daughter, Tran Chi-vien said as he hugged me tightly, then walked to the crib, carefully picked Tutu up. Baby, do you miss your dad? I still stood close by, not daring to be careless even for a moment. Tutu waved her arms and legs continuously. Don't touch me with your dirty hands, you scum, get lost. I was startled. My daughter's heart rang out again. Are you still pretending to be a good husband, a good father? Your son with that woman outside is already 6 years old. Every day you come home late, saying you're working overtime, but in reality you're hanging out with the mistress and the illegitimate child. Pfft. Looking at him a little more, I also feel disgusted. At that moment, Tutu suddenly closed her eyes, clenched her 2 tiny hands as if she was trying hard. I was still using myself because of the words I just heard when Tran Chi-vien suddenly cried out, "Damn, she peed on you!" I came back to my senses, seeing his face that had not yet recovered an expression of disgust and hatred. A normal father, even if his 3-month-old daughter peed on him, would not show such an expression. I tried to suppress the anger and pain in my heart and took Tutu from his arms. This afternoon, I forgot to change the diaper for the baby. Tran Chi-vien quickly turned around to clean it up. While I was changing Tutu's diaper, the little girl's heart rang out again. Mum, you are so pitiful, having been deceived for so many years. Your own daughter was sold to the mountains to suffer, and you will have to raise Tutam's child in the future. When that child grows up, you will be killed by those beasts. They live happily on the blood and bones of my mother and child. My hands were shaking non-stop. These words carried too much information. I forced myself to calm down and tried to analyze. According to what Tutu said, my mother-in-law said she would take care of my child, but in reality she was planning to sell her. Tran Chi-vien appeared to be a good husband and a good father. In fact, there was a mistress outside, and he even had a 6-year-old son. 6 years old meant that he had an affair at least 7 years ago, and 7 years ago was when we were in love in college. Thinking of the image of Tran Chi-vien being so sweet and caring towards me at that time, I just felt nauseous. If I really wasn't on guard and handed Tutu over to my mother-in-law so that she could sell my daughter while I was at work, she would definitely use the excuse that I had lost my child and was heartbroken to death. Then Tran Chi-vien would bring his son and the mistress home, making up stories to move me to adopt the child. I understood my own personality. At that time, it was painful. I was so desperate because I lost my child. If he told me about the child's pitiful situation, I would definitely adopt him, even consider him as my own son. No wonder for the past 5 years Chen Juan had always said he didn't want to have a child. It turned out that he already had a son outside. He didn't want to have a child with me at all. No wonder when I first got pregnant, Chen Juan seemed unhappy, but I don't know when he changed his attitude, showing that he was looking forward to the birth of the child. It seemed that from then on, he had started to plot with his mother-in-law. Cici was also his biological child. How could he be so cruel? At that moment, Chen Juan had cleaned up and returned. He spoke sweetly of love again, but in fact he didn't dare to hold Cici anymore. I secretly laughed coldly in my heart. That was good. Cici originally didn't want him to hold her. Wife, just now did Mum say you were not going to work anymore? Chen Juan frowned and asked, "Why is that? Didn't you tell the company clearly?" So what I said calmly, "I see that Cici is still too young. I can't bear to leave her. I want to spend more time with her. As for work, if I really can't continue, I can quit." Actually, my family is very rich with 2 rental buildings and several stores. Since graduating from university, I could have completely inherited the family's assets. It's just that I like the feeling of working hard myself, so I've always worked. But right now, keeping Cici safe is the most important. I absolutely won't give these people a chance to take action. Tran Chi-vien immediately became impatient. How could that be? After speaking, he seemed to realize that he was a bit too excited and softened his voice. You also know that my salary isn't high. Didn't we say that we would give CC the best life? I laughed coldly in my heart. It turned out that he also knew that his salary wasn't high. These past few years he had been relying on my salary to support the family. So what? My parents have wanted me to come home to help pay the rent for a long time. I pretended to be indifferent and said, Chen Jiwan still wanted to say something, so I pretended to be impatient. All right, I really don't want to go to work. I just want to be with CC. Don't say any more. Besides, my mother is old. I don't feel safe letting her take care of the child. What if she takes the child out and accidentally loses him? After I finished speaking, I clearly saw a trace of guilt flash across Chen Jiwan's face. What do you mean by that? How could that be? You're just talking nonsense. All right, that's it. Hearing that Tran Chi-Vien did not dare to say anything more, that night Tran Chi-Vien lay on the bed snoring very quickly while I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Thinking about how this house was no longer safe, I felt uneasy. If I did not hand Tutu over to my mother-in-law and go to work, they would definitely be anxious, and might even do something reckless and scary. Tomorrow morning, I must take Tutu back to my mother's house. At that moment, I suddenly heard very light footsteps outside the door. I had good hearing, so I recognized it immediately. I suddenly shivered quickly, closed my eyes, one hand gripped the phone tightly, the other hand hugged Tutu tightly. Cash. The sound of the bedroom door being opened softly rang out, followed by the sound of light footsteps approaching. That person had come to the bed. When I felt that person reaching out to Tutu in my arms, I suddenly opened my eyes, using the phone in my hand to hit that person's head hard. Ouch! A painful cry rang out. I heard it clearly. It was the voice of my mother-in-law, Liu Jinhua. She was planning to sneak over in the middle of the night and kidnap Sisi. I deliberately pretended to be panicked. Who is it? Who is it? Chen Jiwan was awakened by the noise, immediately turned on the light, saw Liu Jinhua holding her head and falling on the floor, hurriedly ran over to help her up. Mum, what happened to you? It hurts so much. Liu Jinhua groaned in pain. My phone had a very hard case on it. I used all my strength to hit her head. It would be strange if it didn't hurt. Recovering her composure, Liu Jinhua glared at me angrily, saying, Zhao Shui, do you want to kill your mother-in-law? You're so vicious. Chen Jiwan was also unhappy, looking at me with a reproachful expression. I pretended to be innocent and said, I was just half asleep. I thought someone had sneaked in to steal the baby. Mum, you can't sleep in the middle of the night. What are you doing sneaking into our room? Liu Jinhua's face showed a hint of guilt, but she quickly regained her composure and said arrogantly, Mum, you can't sleep. What if you miss your granddaughter? But you don't need to be so secretive. I replied, I'll wake up to feed the baby later. It's not too late for you to visit her then. Mum, Liu Jinhua was speechless and didn't know what to say. Chen Jiwan quickly interjected, mediating, Come on, you probably don't think that much. This is just a misunderstanding. Mum let me take you back to your room to rest. After speaking, Chen Jiwan helped his mother-in-law out. I tiptoed to her room door, listening to the movements inside. Mum, why are you in such a hurry? Isn't it because that son of a bitch won't give that child to you? If we can't get rid of that unlucky girl, how can we welcome my precious grandson home? Thinking about my grandson still wandering around outside, my heart ached. But I can't just steal the baby from the house. If the baby goes missing here, no matter how stupid Zhao Shui is, she will be suspicious. To tell the truth, I think we should let those mother and daughter die, Guo, and get it over with. Mum, are you crazy? If Zhao Shui dies without a clear explanation, her parents won't leave us alone. We've discussed it before, we just need to bring Sheng Sheng home to enjoy her happiness first. As for those two old people, I'm still young. I can definitely wait until they die of old age, and then it won't be too late to deal with Zhao Shui. Whoever it is, don't act on your own in the future. If there's anything you have to discuss it with me, first understand I know. While Chen Jiwan hasn't come out yet, I hurried back to the room. Hearing the conversation between the mother and daughter, I was completely sure of what I heard in Cece's heart. Chen Jiwan, Liu Jinhua, they are really good at acting. Thinking back to college when I was sick, Chen Jiwan would run all over the city in the middle of the night to buy medicine for me and bring it to the dormitory. After getting married, every time I said I wanted to eat something the next day, that dish would appear on the dining table. There were countless stories like that. That's why I completely trusted them. But now when I heard them talking about killing me, their resolute and hateful tone was as if I was their sworn enemy. Thinking back, did I treat them badly? My parents didn't agree to let me be with Chen Jiwan before. I cried and begged them for a long time before they agreed. When we got married, I didn't take a single dowry, and my family bought the house and car. After the wedding, Chen Jiwan's salary was only 3,000 yuan a month, not enough for him to spend, and all I take care of, all the household expenses. But I have never been arrogant because of that. I still love and respect him and am filial to my mother-in-law. How will they treat me? I clenched my teeth, my eyes cold. They want to wait for my parents to die before killing me. Okay, let's wait and see who dies first. Early the next morning, when Tran Chi-Vien went to work, Lu Kim-hua was still snoring in her room. Perhaps it was because I hit her too hard last night. I quickly picked up Tutu, left the house, and returned to my parents' house. Although last night listening to Tran Chi-Vien's intentions, he probably wouldn't dare to touch me for the time being, but I couldn't take the risk. Moreover, now living under the same roof with them, I felt disgusted. When my parents saw me carrying Tutu back, they were very happy. My mother hugged Tutu, constantly teasing her, making her giggle in her arms. My father was usually stern and rarely smiled, but now when he looked at his granddaughter, his face was also filled with kindness. Seeing my parents' hair turning grey, my heart ached, tears falling down. "Mom and Dad, I'm sorry." "Daughter, what's wrong?" my mother asked worriedly. "Why are you crying?" My father's face darkened. "Did Tran Chi-Vien do something to you? Let me go find him and talk to him." After saying that, he really intended to walk out the door. I quickly pulled my father back and said, "Dad, don't be in a hurry. I just regret it. I regret not listening to you and my parents before I shouldn't have married Tran Chi-Vien." "What exactly is it?" my mother asked anxiously while hugging her. I thought for a moment, feeling that hearing Tutu's heart was too unbelievable. Maybe my parents wouldn't believe it, so I just said that I suspected Tran Chi-Vien had another woman outside. My mother immediately became angry, shouting at me to divorce him immediately. My father was calmer. He said, "The house and car were all bought after marriage, and there's also a shop, which was also given to us by our parents after marriage, so it's considered marital property. If we get a divorce now, we'll have to split it in half with that bastard." Dad was right. Even though my family was rich and didn't lack that kind of property, I wasn't willing to accept it. The first step to revenge was to make Chen Jiwan leave this marriage empty-handed. My mother also calmed down and said, "Then we must first find evidence of Chen Jiwan's adultery, then sue for divorce. It's not difficult to obtain evidence of adultery, but divorce alone is not enough. He not only had an affair, but also wanted to sell my daughter with his mother. If it weren't for the fear that my parents were still alive, they would have killed me long ago." Thinking of this, I told my father, "Dad, help me find a private detective. I want to investigate clearly about Chen Jiwan's woman outside." My father immediately agreed, no problem. A moment later, Liu Jinhua's phone rang. "Zhao Shui, where did you go?" I calmly replied. "Your parents miss Cece, so you went home for a few days and you'll come back in a few days." "Oh, why don't you let Xiao Yuan take you home?" Liu Jinhua pretended to be concerned and asked, "He still has to go to work, no need. Then you stay and play with your parents for a few days." After saying that, she quickly hung up. Machine! After all, in their eyes, I was still the foolish Zhao Shui of the past who was deceived and betrayed by them. Going back to my mother's house was just a normal thing I would obediently return in a few days. But these days, they definitely would. I curled my lips and smiled coldly, opening my home's surveillance screen. This surveillance system was installed by a few close friends of mine after I returned home after giving birth to CC. At first, it was only to be able to review the child's situation in case of any unexpected events. I had never used it before, but I didn't expect it to become a useful tool today. At that time, I had installed a very small hidden camera and installed it when Liu Jinhua and Chen Jiyuan were not home. At first, I intended to tell them, but because I was so busy, I gradually forgot about it, so they had no idea that there was a surveillance camera installed in the house. Through the surveillance screen, I saw that Chen Jiyuan did not return home alone after work, but brought a woman and a boy with him. It turned out that this was the mistress and his illegitimate child. But when I saw the woman's face clearly, my eyes widened in shock as if I had been struck by lightning. That woman was unexpectedly my college roommate, Xiang Yutong. That year when Chen Jiyuan pursued me, Xiang Yutong was the one who helped him deliver love letters and gifts, always praising him in front of me, making me fall in love. Could it be that they had already planned to target me? Xiang Yutong was truly a cold-blooded wolf. She came from a poor background when she first entered university. In order to save money, she didn't eat breakfast and only ate white rice with a vegetable dish and free soup from the canteen for lunch and dinner. Seeing her living so miserably, I couldn't bear it. Every time we went out to eat or bought things to bring back to the dormitory, I would buy more and pretend not to finish them, pulling her to eat with me. Because Xiang Yutong was shorter than me, I sometimes deliberately bought smaller clothes using the excuse that they couldn't fit and gave them to her. She was also touched at that time, always pretending to care about me. After graduating from university, she gradually lost contact. I thought she had gone back to her hometown, but unexpectedly she became my husband's mistress, giving birth to a child for him. Thinking back with the amount of wealth my family had, they probably wouldn't have been able to dream of it in their entire lives. No wonder they had to calculate for so many years. But now that they knew the identity of that woman, it would be much easier to hire a private detective to investigate her. I asked my father to give me the contact number of the private detective, then sent him Xiang Yutong's name, year of birth, university, and major. In university, she did not clearly state her family background, so I only knew a little about her school days, but that also helped the detective save a lot of effort. After talking to the detective, I continued to review the images from the camera. I saw Liu Jinhua busy cooking all kinds of delicious dishes for her eldest grandson. That little boy was running around my house making a mess, even running into Cece's baby room, making a crib, tearing up her stuffed animals. No one dared to blame him. Xiang Yutong brazenly entered my bedroom, changed into my silk pajamas, used all my expensive cosmetics, and brazenly climbed into my bed to cuddle with Chen Jiyuan. I tried to suppress my nausea, silently recording the entire dirty scene. The story was still shocking. While having a wife and a mistress, Chen Jiyuan got to know another woman. This woman was exceptionally beautiful, had a hot figure, and most importantly, she was a rich young lady whose family ran a large company and treated Chen Jiyuan especially warmly. Very quickly, he abandoned both Xiang Yutong and me. He didn't even think about why a beautiful, rich young lady could quickly fall in love with him. It was probably because I had given him too much confidence before making him think he was a man with unrivaled charm. That rich young lady even brought Chen Jiyuan home to meet her parents. Her parents told Chen Jiyuan that they only had one daughter. As long as she likes him, they will treat him as their own son and gradually hand over the management of the family company to him in the future. Tran Qivien was so happy that he was flying to the clouds. At this moment, I returned from my parents' house. I had been at my parents' house for more than 2 months, but they didn't care. Seeing that I didn't bring my daughter back, they weren't worried at all. Tran Qivien even brazenly handed me a divorce paper. I asked in surprise, "What do you mean? Why do you want to divorce me?" "That's right, Trio Tuyet. I've been fed up with you for so many years. Hurry up and sign it. Let's go our separate ways." Tran Chi-vian said arrogantly, completely different from his previous appearance as a good husband. I secretly scolded myself for being blind before, but on the surface I still appeared miserable and desperate. Brother, why is it like this? We've been together for so many years, haven't we been doing well? Moreover, after we get divorced, what should we do with our daughter? She's just a daughter. Who cares if you want her, just take her away, Liu Jinhua said disdainfully. I ignored her, picked up the divorce papers and glanced at them. That greedy Chen Jiuan has already clung to a rich young lady, but he still wants to split the assets after marriage with me. Brother, I don't want a divorce. Can we not get a divorce? Zhao Shui, can you not be so troublesome? Chen Jiuan was so angry that he almost jumped up. I don't have any feelings for you anymore. What's the point of living? If you don't sign the divorce papers, don't blame me for making you a widow. Of course he would be anxious after all. That rich young lady is much richer than my family. Hurry up and sign while you're young, quickly find someone else to remarry, otherwise in a few years you'll be old and have a child who would want to marry you. Liu Jinhua showed pity. I wiped my tears and laughed to myself. After a while I said as if I had made up my mind, you can sign, but I can't sign this. Chen Jiuan, if you want a divorce, you have to leave empty-handed and the custody of the child will belong to me. What? Liu Jinhua jumped up. On what basis should my son leave empty-handed? He wasted his entire youth with you. Doesn't he deserve some compensation? Liu Jinhua was truly shameless. Before it was her son who pursued me, sticking to me like glue. Later he had affairs again, and he still dares to ask me for compensation. Moreover, she really doesn't care about her niece. That's right. How can someone who wants to sell her own niece care about the custody of her niece? As a woman, she prefers men over women. To such an extent, it's really sad. But now it's pointless to argue with her. I pretended to cry. Anyway, I don't want a divorce. If you don't agree to leave empty-handed, then we won't divorce. Tran Chi-vian hesitated for a moment, then went out to make a phone call. After returning, he raised his head and said, Okay, I agree to leave empty-handed. Do you think I want your family's assets? I was secretly happy. The first step was completed. I quickly found a lawyer and drafted a legally valid divorce agreement. Tran Chi-vian couldn't wait, immediately signed it, then packed up and left my house with Liu Jinhua. Before leaving, Liu Jinhua kept asking to bring this and that, but Chen Jiuan whispered something in her ear that made her immediately grin, and she went with him empty-handed. As soon as they left, I immediately had someone clean up the things they left behind and immediately put this house up for sale at a cheap price online. I wasn't short of money. I didn't want to step foot in the house they used to live in anymore. However, the divorce certificate would still have to wait another month to get it. I thought the person who was more impatient was definitely Chen Jiuan. During that month, the private detective thoroughly investigated Xiang Yutong, then handed me the entire file. After reading it, I discovered quite a few interesting things. It turned out that Xiang Yutong was the daughter of the third party. Her father died when she was only in her teens. Her father's first wife was very scheming, not leaving her and her children a single cent. After entering university, Xiang Yutong began to have relationships with many married men. No wonder she occasionally had some money to spend. But at that time, I didn't pay much attention to her private life, so I didn't ask anything. After having relationships with Chen Jiuan, Xiang Yutong had little to do with other men, but still maintained contact with one man. When I saw that man's photo, my heart suddenly started pounding. That man's face looked very similar to Chen Jiuan's illegitimate son. No, it should be said that the child looked like that man. I couldn't help but laugh. It turned out that Liu Jinhua's beloved eldest grandson was not her biological grandson at all. I secretly asked someone to let Xiang Yutong know that Chen Jiuan was having an affair with a rich young lady. After Chen Jiuan and Liu Jinhua moved out of my house, they temporarily rented a cheap room to live in. Because the rich lady promised that once she got the divorce certificate, Chen Jiuan would move into her villa. Therefore, Chen Jiuan was willing to temporarily stay in the rented house. I had someone send Xiang Yutong the address of the rented house. When Xiang Yutong rushed in, Chen Juan was cuddling with the rich lady on the bed. Xiang Yutong immediately went crazy and started fighting with the two of them. The rich lady quickly ran away, leaving only Chen Juan and Xiang Yutong to fight fiercely on the street. "You ungrateful person, I have endured for so many years giving birth to your child, and this is how you treat me." Chen Juan grabbed her hair and angrily shouted, "How did I treat you? All these years I gave you so little money. You still dare to come here and make trouble. Are you tired of living you bastard, I'll kill you." The two of them fought fiercely. It was extremely lively. Meanwhile, I sat across the street in a coffee shop drinking coffee and watching the fun show. But not long after Chen Juan coaxed Xiang Yutong. My private detective took a picture of the two of them walking around the street together. I guessed that Chen Juan coaxed Xiang Yutong with sweet words that he had hooked onto a rich young lady and would give her a better life in the future. Xiang Yutong originally valued money very much, otherwise she wouldn't have been a nameless third party for so many years. And Chen Juan definitely didn't want to completely cut ties with Xiang Yutong after all she had given birth to a son. It didn't matter, this fun was just beginning. After a month, I finally got the divorce certificate. When leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, Chen Juan said to me with a smug expression, "Zhao Shui, no matter how rich your family is, I will be richer than you in the future. If you need help with anything, kneel down in front of me and beg. Maybe I will even put our husband-wife relationship aside and help you. Ha ha!" I just glanced at him, opened the car door, and got into the new sports car that my father had just bought to congratulate me on my successful divorce. "Chen Juan, I hope you don't kneel down and beg me in a few days." After saying that, I stepped on the gas and drove away, leaving Chen Juan in a cloud of car exhaust. Chen Juan snorted twice, clearly not paying attention to what I said. After all, he was still dreaming of marrying into a wealthy family. But he didn't know that after driving for a while, I parked the car on the side of the road, made a phone call, and you can withdraw rest assured the promised money will not be lacking for you. Very quickly, Tran Chi-Vien discovered that he could no longer contact that rich young lady. No matter how many times he called or texted, the result was still no answer. He could only run to the address that the rich young lady had said was her home. Tran Chi-Vien stood in front of the gate of the luxurious villa shouting loudly, causing a commotion in the entire villa. The landlord was famous for being both rich and powerful and had a hot temper. He immediately ordered the security guards to rush out and beat Tran Chi-Vien to a pulp, even breaking two of his teeth. The private detective I hired sent me a video of Tran Chi-Vien being beaten. I sipped a glass of red wine while leisurely enjoying the video over and over again. Then I turned to hug my daughter and said affectionately, "Thanks to you, my baby, we were able to escape from those beasts." Tutu seemed to not understand anything, just waving her arms and legs. Until now, I still don't understand why I could hear Tutu's heart when first. Perhaps this was the will of heaven. Even heaven could not bear to see my mother and son suffer. Tran Chi-Vien was still not willing. After all, he had left a rich wife like me to follow a rich young lady. If he could not marry into a wealthy family, how could he continue living? Moreover, I had someone release evidence of his adultery, the scene of him and Xiang Yutong fighting on the street. The whole video of him being beaten up seemed to go from the gate of the villa to his company. The company, of course, did not want to keep this troublemaker and immediately fired him. That rich young lady was his last hope. He ran to the rich young lady's company to make a scene standing outside the main door, shouting that he was the young lady's boyfriend, the future chairman. But everyone in the company looked at him like he was crazy. Who told you that this company had a young lady? Our company only has 2 sons. Where did the young lady come from? Which mental hospital did you run out of? Get lost. Chen Juan completely collapsed. Impossible. I've been here before. Everyone laughs at us. Of course, because that company belongs to my best friend's uncle. That time my friend only asked a few people to coordinate and act as people in the company. Chen Jiuan refused to leave, rolled on the ground and made a mess, and was eventually beaten up by the company's security guards again. Only then did he realize that he had been tricked. That's right, that rich young lady was just someone I paid to hire. She was originally a waitress. Her parents and company were all arranged by me. Not only did I easily divorce her and make Chen Jiuan leave empty-handed, but also let him taste the feeling of falling from heaven to hell. After all, for a greedy person like him, there is nothing more painful than the broken dream of a wealthy family. Tran Chi-vian and Liu Kim-hua knelt in front of my house all day, crying and begging for my forgiveness. My dear, I was just a fool. Please forgive me. Trio Tuit A, day of husband and wife, a day of love. Chi-vian and I have lived together for many years, and we even have a daughter. You can't abandon her like this. My dear wife, come out and see me. I miss you. I miss Tutu so much. I held Tutu and stood by the window leisurely, watching the scene of the mother and daughter in such a miserable state. They must have guessed that this was a game I had set up, but so what? They were now at their wits' end and could only kneel down and beg me for forgiveness. I left them alone for an entire day, and only when the sun was about to set did I have someone bring them a copy of the paternity test results. That was the result of the paternity test between Tran Chi-vian and his precious son. Chen Jiuan had brought that child to stay in my old house before. It was very easy to take a hair sample. The report clearly stated that the two of them were not related by blood. What was written on this son, Liu Jinhua, held the report and could not understand. Chen Jiuan's hands were shaking. His eyes seemed to want to pierce through the paper. A moment later, he suddenly shouted, "You bitch, I have to kill you!" After saying that he didn't know where he got the strength from, but he jumped up and ran away. Liu Jinhua panicked and quickly pulled her son back. "Son, what are you doing? Who are you trying to kill?" "Xiang Yutong, you bitch! Son, what happened? No matter what you have to think about your mother as grandson." "Nonsense!" Chen Jiuan cursed straight into his mother's face. "That's not your son. You don't have a grandson. Understand? What?" Liu Jinhua looked at him in shock. Her old face turned pale, and finally she fainted. Chen Jiuan didn't care and hurriedly ran to find Xiang Yutong to settle the score. As for me, I ordered someone to carry Liu Jinhua away from the door. That evil old woman, even if she dies, don't die in front of my door. Bad luck. Chen Jiuan went to find Xiang Yutong to question her about the child. With the results of the examination, Xiang Yutong had no way to deny it. Moreover, Chen Jiuan hadn't given her any money recently, and she was already full of resentment towards him. The two argued and started to fight. During the struggle, Chen Jiuan accidentally killed Xiang Yutong. He was scared and ran away, but before he could leave the city, he was arrested by the police. Chen Jiuan was sentenced to life in prison, and not long after it was said that he was beaten to death in a fight in prison. The Wutong Company's child was sent to an orphanage, and Liu Jinhua once I went out with friends and saw her rummaging through trash cans on the side of the road looking for food. She was crazy. Her mind was clearly no longer normal. I just glanced at her and turned away without any pity. I couldn't have any compassion for the person who wanted to sell my daughter and kill me. Evil begets evil. She deserves it. A few months later, when I was playing with CC with my parents, I suddenly heard my daughter's heart. Hoo-hoo, my grandparents are so kind. It's a pity that more than 10 years later, they will die of illness. I was stunned. That being said, if I hadn't heard CC's heart before my daughter would have been sold, I would have adopted Xiang Yutong's child. And more than 10 years later, my parents would have died of illness, and I would have been killed by Chen Jiyuan and Liu Jinhua. 10 years later, my parents were only in their 60s. If they weren't sick, how could they have died so early? I immediately got up. "Dad, Mum, let's go to the hospital right away and get a comprehensive health checkup." Although CC didn't say what the illness was from now on, I would pay attention to my parents' health and go for regular checkups. I believed that I could definitely change my fate. After all, I had already changed my mother and I's fate once.